The Electoral Commission of South Africa, IEC, called for calm as it tallied votes in the country's election. Amid reports, the African National Congress Party has lost its parliamentary majority. This is a moment that we need to manage and manage well. We're grateful that we have come this far with all of you. Don't be tired, we're not done yet, said IEC chairperson Mosoto Mepea in a statement on Saturday. With more than 99% of votes counted Saturday, the once dominant ANC had received just over 40% of votes cast Wednesday, well short of the majority it had held since the famed all-race vote of 1994 that ended apartheid and brought it to power under Nelson Mandela. The final results are still to be formally declared by the Independent Electoral Commission that managed the election. I'm now being joined by Arise political editor Sumner Sambo, who was in South Africa and who covered the elections for Arise News. Thank you, Sumner, for joining me on this Day Live, this Sunday talk show. And welcome back.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abati.
Well, quickly, Sumner Sambo, just take us through what you saw. You had an interview with President Goodluck Jonathan, who led the AISA team to observe that election. And he talked about lessons that other African countries can learn, particularly with the management of voter or voting mechanical devices, which other observers also pointed out, you know, how that was managed. Let's start with lessons.
All right, just to intimate our viewers that as it stands right now, the results are almost fully declared. And from the IEC portal, the ANC, which is the governing party in the country, has about 40.18%. And then, of course, it's followed by the DA, which is the official opposition, that has 21.81% of the votes. And then, of course, the new kid on the block, MK Party, which is 14.59% of the votes. And of course, the EFF is on number 4, and it goes down to other political parties. That's the latest now. And of course, we're expecting the results to be formally released by the IEC any moment from now. And of course, lots of persons, top personalities are expected at the venue where the National Collation results are being put together. And just not quite long ago, we heard that President Cyril Ramaphosa will be there alongside the Chief Justice of the country and all of that. So back to your question, the lessons to be learned from this actually is that several election observers that we spoke with right there in South Africa said the key lessons to be learned in this election is for political parties not to take voters for granted. And that has always been the issue with political parties that have dominated the polity for long. And you would agree with me that even in Nigeria, we had a similar situation with the former governing party, the People's Democratic Party. So managing success for too long could actually be a huge challenge for political parties. And that seems to be the case for the ANC, which is over 100 years old. I mean, is the oldest political party on the continent and has been governing the country since 1994. Now, some of the key challenges that were witnessed during the election were in the areas of the voter management device. It's called VMD, and that has to do like with our own voting devices here that we use, like beavers and all of that. That facility broke down in majority of the areas where those devices were put to use across South Africa when the elections were held on Wednesday. Now, several observer missions went round, and some of the reports that came out of that is that the voter management device performed poorly. And so as a result of that, the presiding officers had to resort to manual voting, even before the IEC could actually give a directive. But when the votes were getting close to, when it was getting close to the end of voting at about 9 p.m. South African time, the IEC's Chief Electoral Officer, Sai Mamabolo, had to issue a statement urging presiding officers to just go ahead and use the manual voting process where the VMD devices had failed. And of course, there were still several people on the queues, and the turnout was a little bit huge, especially for young South Africans in some areas, while in some other areas, the voting was low. But of course, with the new entrant, MK party, coming into play with former President Jacob Zuma backing that party, despite being a member of the ANC, I mean, there were lots of, excitement, especially in KwaZulu-Natal. And then, of course, areas like Gauteng and Limpopo and all of that. Now, some of the other key areas where we've had issues with the election had to do with the issues of, political parties building confidence with the IEC. Despite the fact that the IEC says it has performed very well, some of the political parties are saying that the elections have not gone very well. In fact, as we're speaking right now, some of them have gone to court saying that the results should not be released, and that happens to be one of them, like MK, and then the NCMM, which is saying that based on the results that have been released so far, which is at about 99%, that the results in certain areas have been disputed. And of course, former President Jacob Zuma too has said that they would not want the IEC to go ahead to release the results any moment from now, because they are disputing certain areas where the ANC won. And then, of course, the DA leader, John Steenhuisen, also has been saying that, look, these results need to be properly looked into. And it's been a difficult period for South Africa's democracy, because they've never seen things like this. With the ANC getting set to build coalitions, there are talks that there may be an ANC, MK, and EFF coalition. But of course, the DA's John Steenhuisen actually says that would be a very difficult situation, because if that happens, then it means that other minorities in the country would have much to be afraid of. But coincidentally, these other political parties, the MK and the EFF, they are all an offshoot of the ANC, because they are all broke away. Jacob Zuma was a former president under it. And then, of course, we have the EFF's leader, who happens to be a former youth leader.
Okay, in terms of coalition, the ANC has lost majority with the 40% that it can now boast of, down from the projected 45%, far down from the 57.5% last year. So for it, because they have a proportional representation system, it will have to form a coalition. Can it form a coalition with the MK? Well, issues between Zuma and Ramaphosa. And Zuma is saying Ramaphosa cannot lead, so he will have to step down. So there is a problem there. Can the ANC link up with the EFF or the DA that has 22% of the votes? Well, issues again about empowerment of blacks, and also about the NHIS, health insurance for the marginalized people. And the DA is saying it disagrees on those two issues. But by the time, Parliament is formed in 2 weeks, we would like to see what comes up. But quickly, let me ask you. Many people have declared Jacob Zuma, as a winner in this election. How, in your view?
Well, Dr. Bati, he's actually the winner in this election, because for you to have brought a political party that's just 4 months old and have this sort of figure at the moment, I mean, it's a very huge one in South African politics, because you would have seen that the DA too has actually made some wins, but over the years, the DA, which is a white-centric political party, has not had so much edge, although they've been gaining new grounds over each election cycle. But nonetheless, for this new political party to come around and push aside EFF, led by Julius Malema, which was the third largest political party, I mean, people are saying that it's a very huge win for alternative voices in South African politics. And you would have known that this is happening because of the death of the leader of the Inkatha Freedom Party, Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who actually died not quite long. He used to be the leader of that Zulu-centric political party, but he passed not quite long. And of course, Zuma harvested some of those IFP votes and added it to some that he actually chopped off the ANC. and then, of course, some that he got from the EFF, and then, of course, some from the DA. So, having been the new kid in the block, Zuma seems to be reawakening lots of people who felt disgruntled with the traditional politics being played by the ANC, having led the country since 1994. Now, people like former president of the party in the ANC have actually been angry. That's people like former President Mbeki, about how Jacob Zuma could actually say that he is a member of the ANC and yet be backing the MK political party, which has now chopped off the votes of this behemoth of political party, the ANC.
Well,
now, in all of this, Zuma is saying that he has no reason not to actually do what he did, because the ANC played bad politics and pushed him out. And as a result of that, he felt that he has been tagged as a corrupt leader when, according to him, he has not been properly convicted by any court. So in all of this, we'll see that MK seems to be making quick wins and then is standing up to the status quo. In fact, they are saying right now that they are not going to send any representation to the IEC center where the formal results have been released.
Okay, Sumner, thank you very much. But now, the IEC will be announcing the results from the national election, the parliamentary election, and also the provincial elections. And we'll have a clearer picture as the big conversation in South Africa turns to the big issue of coalition. And if the ANC decides to form a minority government, well, that will come with its own challenges. I hope that they will not take that decision. Thank you very much, Sumner Sambo, for joining us. And I hope you know that going to South Africa and coming back to the office has implications from Abuja to Lagos. Thank you very much indeed.